Picture this, you're getting ready to buy a home, you know you have a 401k, but you don't have very much money in the bank. How are you going to pay for your down payment and your buyer closing costs? Let's talk about how you can use your 401k to buy a house. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at this. And before we get into this too much, I want you to know something up front. I'm a trusted real estate advisor and not a loan officer or a financial advisor. If you have any specific questions about your own unique circumstance, please reach out to a local loan officer or your financial advisor to review these options with you. This is educational, and I hope it gives you another talking point to figure out how to buy your home. The first thing is, what is a 401k? Now, if you have a 401k, you may be familiar of what it is, or that your company has one, whether they have a match, and if so, how much are they matching for every contribution that you make, right? So it operates as a retirement account. It's something that you pay into over time with the idea that you will grow this account and it'll be there for you in your golden years. So when it comes to looking at borrowing money against the 401k, it's like really you're borrowing money from your future self with the money that you would have for retirement. So that's kind of interesting if you think. So ask your future self, would you lend to you now to buy a house? If your future self says, yeah, I'll lend to you to help you buy a house, it's going to be good for us in the future, then you're in good hands, and both of you have made a good decision, both your present day self and your future day self. Your 401k has a really interesting tax provision for it so that you can use the money to purchase a home with the ability to repay it over time. Now, this is unlike an early withdrawal of your 401k, which generally starts off with about 10% of the amount that you're withdrawing. So it's important to note the differences between using your 401k to help you buy a home and what the impacts in reality are to you when you use it for an early withdrawal purpose. So does that mean that you don't have to repay it? Absolutely not. In fact, if you don't repay back the amount that you used for your down payment or your buyer closing costs to help you buy a home, you can be assessed with a penalty tax. So be sure to have this conversation with your financial advisor, your company, or the person handling your 401k to set up a repayment plan that you can agree to and that you can move to going forward to avoid that penalty tax. Remember how we were talking about a moment ago? This is really kind of like taking a loan from your future self. So with every loan, we know that there's a what? An interest rate. So guess where that interest gets applied to as you're repaying back your loan? It actually gets repaid back to your future self for loaning you that money now. So your future self could be saying, hey, thank you so much. Not only are you making great steps in buying a house, paying into a 401k, but you're also paying me some interest on that money that I loaned you back 20, 30 years ago. Thank you so much for that, and you're going to enjoy it today. Of course, you may have heard of something called a hardship withdrawal. So what exactly is that and how does it work? Well, you would need to have that conversation with the administrator of your 401k to see if you could use it for buying a house. In a lot of cases you could if it's a hardship withdrawal, but you want to be clear on how that works. So now to get down to the nitty and gritty about how much you can borrow from your 401k. As of the date of making this video, you could borrow up to $50,000 from your 401k. And if your account is under $10,000, you can borrow up to the $10,000 of funds that are in that account to help you buy a home. Now let's take a look at the pros of borrowing from your 401k. One of the biggest pros up front is if you have the money in your 401k and it's going to give you the ability to make a 20% down payment or greater on the purchase of your new home, then you're not going to have what's called private mortgage insurance on that loan. That's going to save you hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars over the course of the year, depending on the price of the home that you purchase. The second pro is that you'll have the ability to buy a home quicker by using money that's yours anyways. And the third pro is perhaps one of the coolest ones, and that's the fact that your 401k is getting repaid with interest, which only sets you up for better success in the future when you do hit those golden years. The fourth pro is that you won't incur any tax penalties so long as you have made a promise to repay the 401k. Again, you have to make the promise to repay the 401k to avoid any tax penalties. Be sure to ask your financial advisor or whoever is managing your 401k with you to explore your options and better understand how this impacts you. A local loan officer that you're reviewing your mortgage options with would also be able to provide you with some really good guidance on this. So when is it a good idea to use a 401k to buy a house? Because let's face it, a lot of financial advisors would probably tell you it's not exactly the best idea to borrow from your retirement accounts to purchase a home or for any other purpose. Leave it there so it's there for you in the future. And that's sage wisdom and that's sage advice. At the same time, there are some great reasons why you might want to do this. The first one is avoiding the private mortgage insurance or a mortgage insurance premium if you're you're using an FHA loan tool. This becomes critically important to understand, and it's a great conversation to have with your local loan officer about the differences between a PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, and a mortgage insurance premium, which is an MIP. They kind of sound the same, they kind of act the same, but the realities of them are quite different. All that said, it's a really good idea if you have an avenue to use your 401k to avoid a PMI or an MIP. Again, get with the local loan officer to have that conversation to see how it pertains to you today. The second time it's a good idea is if you're looking at becoming a first-time homeowner. If you really start thinking about how much money is being flushed down the toilet every single month with money you will never see again in the form of this thing called rent, it's enough to make your stomach turn and get sick. I mean, let's be honest, it really is, right? So if you think about the fact that if you were applying that same money for your housing expense, going from rent to home ownership, then you're actually paying into your future again by paying down the mortgage balance, paying down the interest on that property, and statistically we know that real estate appreciates at roughly 3% annually according to the 100-year average. So in short, what's that doing for you? Your home is now another retirement vehicle appreciating over time. This is when it can also be a good idea. Consider your options wisely and make the best and most well-informed decision that's right for you. The third time it's a good idea is if you know for a fact that you can pay back that balance within the next 12 months. Doing so will help you avoid any tax penalties, and it'll also go ahead and get your 401k account back to where it should be. Of course, with any pro is a con. So let's look at some of the cons of using your 401k to buy a house that help you make a balanced decision. So when it comes time to look at the total monthly budget of buying your home and repaying the balance due to your 401k, it results in a higher monthly budget amount until your 401k is brought back to the level that it should be per your promise to repay the 401k. The second con is that you may not be able to contribute to your 401k until the balance has been brought back to its previous level. You want to make sure that you have that conversation with the administrator of your 401k to see if you can still make contributions while you're repaying it. Understanding whether you're going to be able to continue making contributions while you're repaying it or not is important for you to know for planning your retirement in the future. The third con here is that your employer may say, hey, you know what? I'm really happy that you bought your new home. I understand the reasons why you used your 401k. It sounded like a great deal. But here's the thing. Until you repay the 401k, I'm not going to match your contribution until it's been repaid in full. Now, if you have a 401k set up through a company and you leave that company, guess what's going to happen? As opposed to having maybe 12 months to repay, it's going to have to be repaid inside of 60 days. So consider your options wisely and how long you realistically choose to work with that employer, and if your 401k will transfer with you from employer to employer. By understanding both the pros and the cons help you make the most well-informed decision possible. With that, let's discuss some of the reasons why borrowing from your 401k could be a bad idea. It could become a bad idea if it hurts your long-term retirement prospects for what you're putting into your account. You need to understand the trade-offs and make sure that you have the ability to promise to repay the money before deciding to move forward on this. Understand the consequence and understand the benefits at the same time. It could be a bad idea if you don't fully comprehend the tax penalties associated with it. As we discussed earlier in this conversation, we know that there could be up to 10% of a tax penalty when you withdraw from a retirement account. We also know that with a 401k, when you're using it, if you've made a promise to repay the note and you are making payments on it, then that tax penalty can be waived. At the same time, we also know that if you leave your current employer, then within 60 days, the expectation is that they will be made whole with the money that you took out from your 401k. Understand and weigh the pros and cons to make sure you're making the best and most well-informed decision for you. Okay, so now that you have a better idea of what it is to use your 401k to buy a house, and hopefully you have enough information to make a great decision that's going to be best for you and yours moving forward, now let's talk about the realities of different loan products that are out there. Let's quickly go over them with the low and no down payment mortgage program options. If you're looking for an FHA loan, a traditional FHA loan is 3.5% down. It's one of the reasons why an FHA loan is one of the most popular loan options out there because of their low down payment on their traditional product and also the ability to have what are called down payment assistance programs. I would like to point out here with you that review the details of any down payment assistance program, regardless of loan type, whether it's FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional, with your local loan officer and understand the trade-offs. With down payment assistance programs, a lot of cases, not every case, but a lot of cases, it comes with a higher interest rate for your mortgage. If you're wondering why that is, it's because that's how that program pays for those low and no down payment options moving forward. The next loan that you might want to consider is a VA loan. If you're active duty or you have served honorably in the United States military, then the VA loan is likely open to you. With the VA loan, it is a zero down loan. Now that's a really cool thing. For more information about that, talk to your local loan officer and see how that's going to work for you. Again, that's only available for active duty and veterans that have served honorably in the United States military. But not to be outdone, conventional loans have now swooped in and said, hey, we want to get into this low down payments too to help people buy a home. We have loan products that are available to you from 3% down, and we also offer some down payment assistance programs. So with all this great information to choose whether you use your 401k, a low down payment, or a no down payment plan, the question becomes, what's the best next step for you? My suggestion, simply pick up the phone and talk to a local loan officer today and review your financial options with them for your mortgage needs. So now that you know more about the 401k, you know a little bit more about the low down payment options and no down payment options, let's talk about the 9 questions to ask a mortgage lender when you have that conversation, and let's get real with some real talk about mortgage lenders and your home loan options. Looking forward to our next conversation. See you in a few.